All right, how's it going? I got another video for you. Federal appeals court handgun purchase ban for 18 to 20-year-olds unconstitutional. Now, before we get into it, if you'd like to follow me or support me, you can do so through my Subscribestar link, which will be in the description below. But we will get into this. This came out on the 13th of July. This article did through Breitbart. I kind of heard about this, but I haven't looked into it until just recently here. A 3-judge panel for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit ruled Tuesday that the federal ban against 18 to 20-year-olds buying handguns is unconstitutional. So this whole thing is weird to me because when you're 18, you're an adult and you can buy a long rifle and stuff, but you can't buy a pistol. So I'm assuming too that was kind of the reason if you're going to go into law enforcement, you have to be at least 21 to do that, which is a weird thing because you can go into the military at 18 or even younger. I enlisted when I was 17, and I was 18 by the time I was in Iraq the first time. So I mean, not a lot of people. Well, people would have their main, their M16s, and they'd have a 9mm side piece as a secondary or backup. Especially the MPs and stuff would have pistols, and probably a majority of them were under 21. But it's the military, and I guess it's technically, you could say there's more training or training in general. But the whole thing always seems weird to me because the majority of gun crimes are committed with pistols. Because I think the numbers are roughly, it's 39,000, but close to half of those are suicides. Because I know long rifles account for 300. Killings, murders, or however you want to describe it. Because I think there's more murders by knives and just blunt force trauma with hands and pipes and stuff than there are rifle murders, which we're getting a little off subject here, but it's used a lot in inner city gang crime too, so that's an issue as well. But I mean, most of those are illegal to begin with, so that's a little side note. But the majority opinion by Judge Julius Richardson, joined by Bush 43 appointed Judge Steve Agree, looked at militia laws in American history and the Founding Fathers' views that an armed populace made an armed militia possible, allowing the latter to repeal a tyrannical government should the need arise. I don't know, do we have a tyrannical government today, this year? Some would say so, with a lot of unconstitutional laws being handed down. So while the individual right of self-defense was the central component of the Second Amendment, the civic purpose was codified based on the fear that a tyrannical government would eliminate the civically minded militia. Both reflected the pre-existing right of self-defense that the founders valued as the core purpose of the state. In the founders' world, individual self-protection and community defense were not wholly separate spheres. I will say, especially in closed spaces and stuff, a pistol being smaller is easier to use as a self-defense instead of a long barrel rifle. I mean, you can easily have it in your glove box. If you're in your house, especially going down a hallway, it's a lot easier to move with your pistol instead of having a long barrel rifle that will get you jammed up. So, and I think there's there may be some hollow points for long barrel ammunition, but I know there's a lot of 9mm and stuff, which will go in to the body, spread, and kind of stop instead of 5.56 or 2.23. They can pass through the body and cause secondary collateral damage. Moreover, Richardson highlighted the time at the founding of the nation, noting Every militia law near the time of ratification required 18-year-olds to be part of the militia and bring their own arms, which I guess is similar to the selective service today, which I think maybe females have to sign up for now, if I'm not mistaken. Finally getting some of that equality in there, right? He added, around the time the Second Amendment was ratified in 1791, Congress began debating invoking its power under the militia clauses to better organize the militias for federal use in emergencies. The effort was pushed by Secretary of War Henry Knox, who argued to Congress that while the military age has generally commenced at 16, the age for the federal select militia should be set at 18 because the youth of 16 do not commonly attain such a degree of robust strength as to enable them to sustain without injury the hardships incident to the field. This is a side note too. I guess alcohol used to be legal at 18, but they moved it up to 21. I kind of think if you're going to be an adult at 18, if you can serve in the military at 18, then everything should become legal at that point. Pistol ownership, drinking alcohol and stuff, because that would also, this is getting off subject here, but I think that would help. If drinking started at 18, I think that would help with a lot of like younger people would drink, but they could do it legally and they feel like they could do it safely and they wouldn't have to like sneak behind. I think that would help stop a lot of the like over drinking and possible like alcohol poisoning. Because I think with marijuana as well, like states that do it, I want to say that they do it at 21 as well. Like if you're going to be an adult at 18, 18's the thing. Also, another side tangent note, renting a car and getting a motel room, you have to be like 25. I don't know why, because I remember, this is really getting off tangent here, but I remember I went to visit my dad and I was going to stay at a motel. They're like, I was like 21 or something like that. Like I'd been through the military and I was like going to college and stuff. And they're like, oh, you're not 25, you can't. I'm like, what do you mean? Granted, at the time I was like 300 pounds and had like a mohawk and stuff, so that might have been why. But side note. Richardson observes founding era militia laws provide enough evidence that 18-year-olds were covered by the Second Amendment. Later in the majority opinion, I'm doing this after work, I'm tired. Later in the majority opinion, Richard notes that legislation and court rulings cannot change what the Founding Fathers intended via the Second Amendment. But while Congress or judges may have struck a different balance long after ratification, that role is foreclosed to us by the balance that the founders chose. We cannot now second guess or undermine their choice. History makes clear that 18 to 20-year-olds were understood to fall under the Second Amendment protections. Ultimately, Richardson and Agee voted to vacate a district court's rulings to dismiss the suit against the handgun purchase ban, remanding it for further proceedings. The case is Hirschfeld v. BAFT number 192250 in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. So I've heard people saying too that like this could be, if this like goes up to the U.S. Supreme Court, since it's already in the Court of Appeals, like if it goes up there and the court, because the court is 6-3 conservative, I believe right now, but was it what's his name, John Roberts? He doesn't really seem to be following like actual like conservative things, so it's kind of like 5-4. And we're not sure how much Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, like how conservative they would be on things like this. But it possibly could go to the Supreme Court. And if they could just like dismiss it, like they don't want to hear it. But they could possibly hear it. And if they were to hear it and they were to positively make a decision on it, it could affect federal law altogether. So federally across all 50 states and the territories, you could 18 to 20-year-olds could buy and own pistols, which I think is a good positive thing. I think gun ownership in general is a good positive thing to have. What they say, like an armed populace is a polite populace. I mean, there's a reason that in Chicago, Illinois, they have like the strictest gun laws, but they have some of the worst gun crime because criminals that illegally obtain the handguns know that their target is not going to be able to defend themselves, versus something like Texas where like everybody's like armed to high noon. And like if someone's going to rob somebody, they're like, there's a chance they may be carrying. Then you get into open carry versus concealed carry, which I think tactically concealed carry is a better thing, but you can open carry if you want to. But I think there was that one guy who open carried in Walmart like after the shooting that happened. Then they called in police and had him like kicked out so he couldn't ever shop at a Walmart again. But the police were like, what are you thinking? I'm like, there was just a shooting. He was like, yeah, I know. I want to protect myself. So I would say concealed carry is the better of the two because you can conceal it. Then I guess that depends what state you're in too, because some are either where you can or you can't. Some you have to go through classes. Some are now getting to the point where they're doing like a constitutional carry where like you don't need any kind of certification or anything to actually concealed carry. So there's a couple of states. I want to say there's like, I think someone said there's like up to 21 now that are constitutional carry. Maybe I got that number wrong. But yeah, that's it for tonight. Just kind of a quick one. I just want to get one out. I thought this was pretty interesting news. Like I said, if you want to follow me and support me, you can on Subscribe Stars here. Also, like, follow, and subscribe. Facebook. I'm putting it up on YouTube and a backup on BitChute. So you can go follow both of those, and I'll post it onto Facebook, Minds, Gab, and Parler. And at some point in time, when I get the capital, I'll probably... We got to see how YouTube... I don't know if I'm making stuff that's like YouTube bannable. I'm just such a small channel. I'm like flying under the radar. But I'm gonna post on YouTube for now. Then if I start to run into issues with like censorship or like strikes or bans or something, I'm probably at some point in the future going to use the Minds Pro, and you can use that because Minds is like really good about not censoring that I've had any issue with in free speech and stuff. But there's like a Minds Pro option that I can get, and I just got to get the capital for that. I can get that, and you can almost use them to build like your own website through them, which I think would be good for like these daily news article topical things. But yeah, that's it for tonight. A little rambly, but yeah. All right, later.